testament to colonial architecture, Mount Pleasant ranks amongst the finest buildings in Gibraltar. Built in 1847 and housing communications since 1868, no one would argue that Mount Pleasant is one of the jewels of our British heritage. 125 years ago, the first direct long-distance submarine telegraph cable put Gibraltar in the middle of a communication highway. Today, with Gibtel, we're still there, and poised for bigger and better things. The transition, in our view, has been one of going from messengers to megabits.
As we proceed towards 1998, which is when voice telephony services are due to be liberalised, we will compete with Gibraltar 9X, and obviously I look forward to that because competition is healthy. I am confident that I have a wonderful team of people working for me, all of whom are highly trained. By that I'm not saying that the others don't have them, but I am confident in the people who work with me. And as a team, we work very well, I can tell you. And the proof of the pie is in the eating. You make a 00 call today, very rarely will you not be put through.
At the heart of Gibtel, 230 international telephone circuits, top-notch satellite communications, a mobile telephone network, maritime radio, financial information processing, Global Network Services of British Telecom, Dow Jones, Reuters, Telerate, Telex, you name it. If it's communications, Gibtel is the starship enterprise in this corner of the galaxy of the Western Mediterranean. And keeping up with all this space-age technology are Gibtel's engineers.
Well, basically we have three sections. One is the Earth Station, then Eugene Pons is head of the engineering section there. He also does the outstation. Then we have the international telephones and the GSM, that's performed by Jimmy Figueres. And Dennis Vela is our information technology expert.
Is today's information and communication technology relatively trouble-free, or do you get major headaches with it?
Yes, it's technology tends to be nowadays trouble-free, as you say, and hardly ever do we go down to component level repairs. What tends to happen is that equipment carry a lot of redundancy already built in, so we tend to keep more basic equipment rather than components.
Do you get a lot of breakdowns?
Fortunately, we don't get a lot, but then again, when we do get one, it does affect us drastically. So what we have is what we call restoration plans. So when we lose a whole 2 megabit, there is already a set plan so we can restore to a different route and re-establish all the traffic.
Dennis, what does an information technology engineer do?
Well, it takes care of all processing material. It could either be PCs, it could be LAN networks, it could be, as in the case of GSM, producing a bill at the end of the day, not only for Gibraltar as such, but to our roaming partners all over the world.
The Earth Station is used mainly to interface from the terrestrial network up through to the satellite link that we go directly to Matley Earth Station. We have an 11-meter antenna that you've seen outside, and we transmit that antenna through the solid-state amplifiers that is being fed by this rack over here, as you can see, which is the intermediate data rate rack. And here you can see the up converters, the down converters, and the IDR modulators and demodulators.
What sort of capacity has the dish got?
Well,
carry data.
The dish in itself has unlimited capacity, really. It all depends on the equipment we connect to feed the dish.
Why is the front part of the dish screened by wire mesh?
Well, it's screened mainly because since we went over to digital systems, we started having problems with car ignition interference. When the engine from cars, and especially mopeds, fantastic transmitters at the frequencies that we operate to the satellite. So we had to screen, that screen is there to actually prevent interference from the cars going up the road.
Jimmy, what does a transmission systems engineer do?
It actually, I'm monitoring the whole network itself, That actually includes all the international telephone, all our data circuits to international traffic. We also cater for the GSM, which is a newly introduced mobile phone, the paging system, and we also have a co-station, Gibtel Radio, which works on VHF, and it's daily monitoring the quality of the circuit and giving an efficient quality service.
That sounds like quite a handful. How many people do you have in your team?
It composes of the watchkeeping, where there is a duty for 24 hours a day. We have 5 watchkeepers, we have a co-station operator, we have 2 engineers watching over the GSM switch, and we have maintenance staff for the faxes and telexes.
What did winning the ISO 9001 mean to you as a company?
Well, to me, it meant confirmation of what I already knew. I mean, I was confident that Gibraltar was a quality company and that its people were qualified to offer our customers quality services. But I felt that, and I conferred this with the people who work for Gibtel, and they agreed, if we believe in ourselves, then we should go out there and get somebody to test what we believe. And I mean, it was only confirmation of what we believe. But I can tell you, it was a great pleasure to be accredited.
The company document how they carry out the various tasks that they carry out. We then check those documents against the ISO standard to ensure that they've met all the appropriate clauses. We will then go through each section of the company and ensure that the activities they carry out are the activities that they've said they carry out within their own documents.
Once they have an ISO award, obviously, do they have to have it reviewed every year?
There are 6 monthly surveillance visits which are carried out to ensure that the system we've approved is still being operated, and that any changes they've made haven't taken them outside of the certificate.
Is it looking good for Gibtel after the audit that you've just completed?
It's looking very good for Gibtel. I think the thing that needs to be known about Gibtel is that the system they've developed themselves. It's very common, particularly in the UK, for companies going for approval to get a consultant in who writes the system for them. That isn't what's happened here. The system has been developed in-house, and it's a good system. It meets the standard. So I think it's looking very good for them.
How do you go about troubleshooting if something is not working at the expected level of efficiency?
Well, we do have our own corrective action procedures. And if something is not done to specifications, then through the managers, I write up notes, audits, and corrective action is taken.
And you've just had a Lloyd's audit for the renewal of your ISO 9001 award.
Yeah.
Do you think that the auditor is going to come back with positive recommendations for Gibtel?
In fact, I know he has, because I've already received his recommendations. And yes, the answer is yes. We have passed
Getting the award for another year.
Well, it is continuing for another 6 months.
Does anybody audit the quality systems manager himself?
Yes, the Quality Council does this. That is top management do. And of course, they come up with different things which have to be corrected as well.
The operations that come under me are specifically the co-station, the Main Street Bureau, and recently, since we introduced the new GSM mobile system, I am in charge of the roaming agreements with as many operators as possible.
What exactly is a roaming agreement, Francis?
A roaming agreement is before you can use your phone in another area, another country apart from Gibraltar. The networks have to come into agreement so that you can use your phone in their network and they can use their phone in your network. This has to be a previous agreement before that can be put into practice.
It begs the question whether the neighbouring country subscribes to such an agreement with Gibtel.
At the moment, we don't have it with Spain. We are working on it, but at the moment, the answer is no.
Does that worry you as a sales manager?
There is an element of worry. Obviously, the fact that we can have roaming agreements with the whole of the world except Spain worries me, particularly as there are some people who have a need to have the mobile phone working in the neighborhood. From the sales point of view, it doesn't worry me as much because we are catering primarily for the local market, and the people who are taking our phones use it locally. Then the advantages that they get when they roam throughout Europe, and they get VAT-free calls, which you don't get when you subscribe to the neighboring system, then it's an advantage which we feel can outweigh the fact that you can't use it in Spain at the moment. Having said that, we are still working to see whether we can come to some arrangement, and we are still hopeful that we might be able to come up with something. I can't tell you when, but at least I hope that soon we'll be able to have some news on that.
Mike, how does a mobile phone work?
Mobile phone is very interesting. It's literally an extension of a telephone in the house or in the office, except that you can walk around with it. In the case of the Gibraltar GSM system, a subscriber looking for a mobile phone dials one of our numbers, 58, and then the rest of the number. The call actually goes through the LAN system into the equipment behind me. The equipment behind me first takes a look to see if that number is a valid number. If it is a valid number, it then looks to see if it's connected. If it is connected, it then sends a signal out to our base stations. We have a base station up on Spyglass, and we have a base station down at the North Mole. We also have several repeater stations downtown and along Devil's Tower Road to assure good coverage. If the mobile subscriber has his phone turned on, the phone will ring ordinarily, and the customer picks up the phone and speaks as he is. Now, what we also have, which is new, is we also have a voicemail system, so that if the subscriber doesn't answer his phone, or he's busy, or he's away from Gibraltar, a voicemail box, which is seated behind me, will automatically answer the phone and the person can leave a message.
Now, the beauty of mobile phones is obviously that you can take them to other countries, and you are instantly accessible, and you can access people instantly. Now, how does that work?
Okay, that's one of the reasons that when Gibtel decided to do mobile telephony, we chose the GSM system. GSM stands for Global System for Mobility, or Global System for Mobiles, whichever you prefer, which means it is the same technical standard throughout most of the world. In other words, our system works exactly the same way as the system will work in France or in Germany or in the UK. And essentially what happens is this. When one of our subscribers goes to Germany, for example, and if you take a look at the map over to my right, you'll see any number of countries which have GSM systems. The customer turns his mobile system on, chooses the specific network in that country, and says go. The mobile then registers with that system, again in Germany. The German system takes a look at it and says, wait a minute, by looking at all of the information that I have, this is not one of my customers. He then looks up a table and it says, this mobile comes from Gibraltar. It literally, using the backbone telephone network, sends a message to our switching system here, which says that your Gibraltar customer is in Germany. Any calls that come to him, ship them down the line to us and we'll send it to him. And that's what makes GSM so special. And that's how you can use it in other countries. And again, if the mobile subscriber doesn't answer his phone, we can set it up so that it goes to a voice message, and he can even query the voice message from Germany or any of the countries we have roaming agreements with.
Louis, is this the nerve center of the GSM?
Well, you could say that this is a nerve center, because in this room is where, via all these PCs that are around us, we can input data, extract data from the system. We could touch upon the billing element side of it, although it's not processed in this room. But you can safely say that in this room you can do anything to this switch, to the mobile switch. Yes.
Now, one of the beauties of the mobile phone, of the GSM service, is confidentiality. Mm-hmm. Is that absolute?
That is definitely, I would say, an absolute thing. I think I've heard that apparently GCHQ in the UK, apparently they tried to crack the code of the encryption, and they haven't managed to do it as yet. That's what I personally know. So basically, what we're talking is the airwaves, the mobile to mobile no one can get in and listen to a conversation. Every user, when he logs onto a system, they have to go through a process of authentication. If that fails, you're automatically dropped out of the system. You will not be able to proceed.
GSM was an investment in the region of 1.6 million. When we consider that today, 9 months after we commenced the service, we have 650 customers on the network, you can realize the enormity of the task which we have to carry out in order to make it pay.
Well, we had a very strict target that we promised our board, which is the government of Gibraltar and British Telecom, and we are past 60% of the target. So we're well on track for making our numbers.
For all the volume of communications traffic which flows through Gibtel, its staff is not large at 36. Administrative support is in the hands of just 3 young ladies who pass on their friendly charm to clients and colleagues alike. Susan Borge heads the admin team and is the general manager's secretary. The accounts department is staffed by 7 executives who are all linked to a sophisticated system of accounting computers. Indeed, all departments are linked in this way, so paperwork is kept to a minimum and efficiency runs high.
Because of the way the telecommunications services have evolved, in the past telegraph used to be the most popular by far, but we saw the need to swap over to a more day-to-day running of telecoms, which obviously is telephones. Apart from the telephones, which is our main service offered in the Bureau, we obviously run the more traditional telegraph, telex, facsimile, all both on transmission and reception for our customers. In addition to that, we also rent over-the-counter things such as pagers and even mobile phones.
Out of all those services offered, which type of customer do you meet with the most frequency?
Me personally, I would imagine it is the mobile phone customer. In fact, one of the reasons why my department, the Customer Relations Department, was transferred to Main Street was simply because I was receiving anything up to 30 visits a day from our local customers, and we felt it was a bit unfair to make these people, these valued customers, go all the way up to South Barracks to just pay me a visit and ask me questions. So the obvious choice was to reorganize our Main Street office and transfer the department, at least my department, down here.
How sophisticated can it all get before the user gets lost in a maze of instruction manuals?
Yes, that can be a problem, but we have a customer relations manager who looks after all our customers and instructs them on the use of each relevant equipment.
Do you get positive feedback from your customers saying that they can cope with the new technology?
Generally, yes, they don't think they have many problems in working the equipment. However, I think this is a problem that will be minimized, I think, in the future once the up-and-coming children who are now trained in computer technology will take over
They'll be the users of tomorrow.
That's right.
And the problem with Gibraltar is the size. Some services which we could offer because of the population size of Gibraltar, it is extremely costly, right? One of them is the video conference system, which we are at the moment thinking of bringing, but we do not know what needs there are yet in Gibraltar for that.
Video conferencing, this is a new service we are looking into launching early next year. In fact, it's going to be one of the joint ventures between Gibraltar Dynamics and Gibtel. And it's going to be a public bureau, international video conferencing, which companies will be able to book time, and one of the savings will be flights to the destination. So they'll be able to have a face contact with the other person, and also be able to pass faxes and documents instantaneously.
Is the service user-friendly? You can leave people in this room and they'll be quite happy?
Extremely user-friendly. It's also remote control. Cameras can be spanned and focused automatically, yeah.
All those aspiring boardroom dragons out there should go up to Gibtel for a demonstration of video conferencing. Its flexibility is amazing, and just like the GSM phones, it's the leading edge of technology.
We have exactly the same services as the UK, Germany, France, Italy, you name it. We are on a par in terms of mobile service with them.
Well, the prime objective of the company is to fulfill the conditions of the license which was granted to us by the government of Gibraltar. Essentially, it's to provide Gibraltar with a state-of-the-art international telecommunications network.
Is Gibtel well placed in the communications highway?
We are, fortunately the same as we're in the gateway of the Med. In communication, we have 2 megabit links on via satellite, very reliable, to UK, which we switch internationally. We have 2 megabit fiber optic links to the States, New York. We have 2 megabit links to Portugal, and we have 2 megabit link across the strait into Morocco, which places quite nicely for all our routes.
That's a far cry from the traditional cable and wireless messenger delivering a telegram by hand, isn't it?
It is, and it's very challenging.
The megabits may well be in abundant capacity, but the messengers have all but disappeared. In the late 1960s, Charles Robber, as a young messenger, had to deliver a personal telegram to Harold Wilson on board HMS Fearless, in port during high-level talks on Rhodesia. Charlie stood his ground, and after 3 hours finally got through all the security nets and delivered his telegram to the Prime Minister, for which he was later commended. That tenacity and that will to succeed is still very much the prime motivation behind Gibtel's success, and no doubt will continue to be so in the future.
People have been very largely unaware of us. Now the mobile phone is suddenly brought us into the limelight and it's given us a direct route to our customers. So obviously we will be continuing with our marketing strategy on the GSM phones, and we hope it will expand the way it has up to now.
The mobile phone is very interesting. A colleague of mine at British Telecom once made a comment that there is more intelligence in this mobile phone than there are in some PCs. So looking forward, and I've just come back from Telecom Geneva, which is the biggest telecom exposition in the world, they're talking about being able to use data from internet on a mobile phone, being able to send fax, being able to send bursts of messages for about 200 characters. In the long term, using both the GSM mobile and the switching equipment you have in front of me, as well as the fixed network, someday people will be able to take one phone and use it regardless, in the home, in the office, on the beach, taking the whole system and everything that telephony has with them. And those are the plans now going forward from next year throughout the next 10 years. And that's what we expect to see.
Definitely, that is the phone of the future. There won't be any fixed phone within, I say, about 10 years' time. You will hardly be able to find a fixed phone anywhere. You will always be carrying your phone.
Will be carrying your phone.
Yes.
Will 1996 bring you more and better technology to offer to your customers?
Yes, we have an AXE10 digital platform from where all these new services can be projected from. All it needs is adding further software or further hardware to the, as the case may be. And in the short term, you'll be seeing things like calling line identification or called party identification.
What is that? What does that mean?
That really means that it's basically like an answer back in a telex machine. You will know the telephone number of the called party.
Right.
Similarly, the called party will identify to the calling party. Mm-hmm. Video conferencing is another service that we shall be providing.
How does video conferencing work in simple terms?
Basically, it's just sitting executives in front of a camera and with an additional screen, and you can have conferences from throughout all over the world.
I think what I would most hope for Gibtel would be that, with the help of the government of Gibraltar, and I can tell you the government of Gibraltar is working very hard at this, is to attract new telecommunications business to Gibraltar. You know, the colleagues of mine, people working here, and my colleagues at GNC have been to Switzerland recently, attended Telecom 95, all this new technology. You know, we have just introduced a mobile system, GSM, but there are other systems which are satellite-based, which are also attractive. And I think, you know, we must remove our blinkers and realize that our market doesn't end at the frontier. Our market is a world market. We may not be global players. We cannot be global players because of our size, but we can make a very important contribution in the global telecommunications market. And we've got to be industrious, we've got to be active, we've got to be out there and try and set the right sort of conditions for people to come to Gibraltar and invest in Gibraltar. Because of one thing which I am absolutely convinced is that we in Gibraltar have the skills to compete with anybody in the world. We've just got to believe in ourselves.
What is Gibtel's standing in the field of telecommunications internationally?
Well, Gibtel is recognized by the International Telecommunications Union as a registered public operating agency. So we have the same standing as any other telecommunications company in the world. And fruit of this is that through my participation in the GSM MOU, which is the organization that develops the GSM technology, a number of conferences will be held in Gibraltar. I mean, we held the first one a couple of days back. That is a MAC clearing group, which is a clearinghouse which we use that's based in Luxembourg. Again, in November of this year, we will get another group from the GSM MOU, about 40 top-ranking engineers coming to Gibraltar for what we call an IRIC meeting, which is really a technical meeting. And in January of next year, early in January of next year, we will have about 40 or 50 top telecommunications executives coming here to hold what we call the European Interest Group meeting. So that is all the top GSM operators in Europe will be sending representatives, and usually they're executives at the executive level, to attend this two-day conference in Gibraltar where we discuss issues such as European Union liberalisation of the mobile, how the liberalisation of the network, liberalisation of different services will affect us. And I've been fortunate in attracting them to Gibraltar because it's quite competitive. Everybody wants to take them everywhere. But they're small enough, there'll be 40 or 50 for us to be able to manage. And I think it's a good selling point for Gibraltar because people will come here, will see how we live, how we act, how we operate, and then we'll go back, hopefully, putting out the right message.